Today we're going to start with the Puritan Bennett 840 ventilator. We're going to be setting this up in the pressure support ventilation modality. Before we get started, I'm going to show you how to set up the circuit and the filters that are needed. You have two filters on the 840. The small square one right here with an arrow. The arrow indicates the air flow. This is the filter that filters the gas that is going to the patient. It goes over here on the inspiratory side. Behind the circuit, I know it goes there because it says to patient. It only goes on one way and it goes in the direction of the arrow. You put that on. This is the expiratory filter. This protects everyone around the ventilator because you do not want to be breathing all the junk and crud that comes out of someone's lungs. It also has a chamber on the bottom because when you exhale your gas, the gas coming out of your lungs is fully saturated, and if this starts filling with water, we can hook up a syringe and drain the water out and keep that closed. It will go into the exhalation side like that, and then there is a locking mechanism. Push it down, it locks it in place. This is the circuit that we'll be using for this ventilator for our testing today. This is for active humidification. Today we're not going to use active humidification just for the purpose of this lab. This is called an evacqua circuit. The exhalation side sort of feels and sounds like a snake skin. It is made so that water molecules can pass through the membrane and helps to prevent rain out. It's a very nice, one of the newer circuits. This will go on the exhalation side. The blue is the inhalation side of the circuit. This one right here has your heated wire in it, and I will put it directly on my filter. Normally it'd go in the heated chamber, but since we're not using a chamber or a heated system today, we're just going to put it there. I have already plugged up my ventilator to the wall, and hopefully you do remember how to plug up the 50 psi air and oxygen hoses to the wall. You will need to do that. We start off with the 840 disconnected from the patient and disconnected from the test lung. To turn it on and off, you flip the switch right here and turn it on. And I pull this up towards there. Two buttons that you'll see down here: alarm reset, alarm silence. Alarm silence is going to be your friend. It gives you 2 minutes of alarm silence. You can also, these are some controls: expiratory pause, inspiratory pause, manual inspiration, 100% oxygen gives it to you for 2 minutes. We can clear and accept choices, and if we have to dial through menus, we can use this button. Right now it is asking me if I want to use the same patient or a new patient or do an SST test. We will do the SST test at a later date. Right now we're going to go with new patient. I touched it, it accepted it. It's going to ask me for my ideal body weight of my patient, IBW, and I'm just going to go with what is set in here for the purposes of today's lab. Press that. And then it's going to ask me my modality. Well, we're going to go into spontaneous mode because pressure support ventilation is an entirely spontaneous mode. And then are we going to, it says PC or VC, are we going to ventilate with pressure or volume? We're just going to leave that. That is going to be our apnea or backup mode. Since pressure support is a spontaneous mode, if your patient stops breathing, you need to have a backup modality in. Spontaneous, none, pressure support, volume support, or PA, we're going to leave it in PS, pressure support. And then we hit continue. Everything's set up. Here's my apnea settings. I'm not going to change anything on that, but I am going to put my pressure support, and see I'm using my dial. If you turn it the wrong way, it does let you know. So I want to dial this in to 10. And there it is at 10. I'm going to take my PEEP up to 5. And I'm going to take my FiO2 down to 21% just for the purposes of this lab. We'll let you know you're going to have to hit alarm silence. Apparently there's an O2 sensor that is bad in this ventilator. We can still use it for the purposes of training, but it is just going to continue to alarm. So once I'm good with this, I need to connect this to my test lung. And when I do, it will sense the breath. I also need to accept. Use knob to adjust. If you're ready, hit accept. And now it's waiting for you. Okay, now if you notice, nothing is happening because this is a spontaneous mode. What I'm doing is doing just very slight pressure on the test lung. Just like the V60, the yellow is a low priority alarm, red is high priority. If you see the big S, that means spontaneous. And there goes my oxygen sensor that's telling me that it is bad. So what I'm going to do, hit my alarm silence, and I now have 2 minutes. Okay. So that is the setup. I am in spontaneous mode. I have my pressure in my circuit and my flow in my circuit. I can change my flow by highlighting that, my waveform, and using the dial. I can change the time. Three second, 6, 12, 24, 48. And I can also change my y-axis for how big or how small how big or small they are. Okay. If I wanted to change my pressure support, I would press that and dial. Now if I hit it again, see how it's a different color? It will not accept it until you hit accept. Terminating the breath on a pressure support, here's my E sensitivity. If you look up here at my tidal volume, VTE, tidal volume exhaled. So if I take this up to 85 or 80, it's going to terminate my breath quicker because it'll be at 80% of max flow. And look what happened to my tidal volume, 183. So I'm going to take my sensitivity, my expiratory sensitivity, all the way down to 1%. Accept. And look what happens to my tidal volume. See how much bigger? So you can control tidal volume with your flow termination in your pressure support. The docs will not write these numbers. They don't even know about that. So what they do is they'll give you a pressure support. If the patient needs a little bit more volume, you can give it to them. And this is just like the rise time on the V60. Okay, let's watch my... See my inspiratory? Over here it was curved. Here it's very, very sharp. So a little thing, if you see that little rabbit ear, you need some rise time. So we're at 100%, we need to downsize it a little bit. We don't want that rabbit ear. That comes up in pressure ventilation. And that's for any ventilator. If you see that rabbit ear, give it a little bit of rise time. It'll take that rabbit ear off. That means the pressure is going over it and then having to come back down. Okay. That does it for the Puritan Bennett 840 with pressure support ventilation. Do not forget to go into your alarm settings and take a look at them. And set your alarm settings accordingly.